nice, gentle rain this morning. That's what makes everything so beautiful and green out here on the coast. Siuslaw River Drawbridge. Heading south, the school teacher asked me in the second grade, David, can you stand up in front of the class and spell south? And we just got done learning about the GHT, you know. GH, the two letters GH and the sound, and I was all confused. Second grade. David, can you spell south? I stood up and all my friends are starting to laugh, you know, they knew I was dumb. I said, S-O-U-G-H-T. She said, no, that's not, that's not correct. Can anybody else stand up and spell south? And of course, there's always that one little girl that her favorite hobby in the whole world since she was 1 year old is to read and spell and write. We all had a little girl like that in the classroom where she was never ever wrong. Yeah, yes, Mrs. Green, yes. S-O-U-T-H, south. Hey! And that little girl would always turn around and look at me. And the funny thing is, somehow, I turned out way better than most of them. Now, it's really only by default. It's not by intelligence. It's just, you know, now I'm 62 and a half years old, so recently I looked up some of my old friends on the internet, and half of them are dead already. I was really shocked. Half of them are gone. And if you want some good advice, let me tell you something. The half that are gone at 60 years old already, they all drank alcohol daily and they smoked cigarettes. Those two things. That's the half that's gone. Comes a logging truck. I came from the generation of drinkers, alcoholic drinkers, and smokers. Here comes another logging truck. About 50% of everybody I knew drank alcohol, but only about 30% smoked. Every one of those people are gone before 60 years old. I'll tell you a very interesting story. The place I grew up in Iowa, on the farm next to our farm, our neighbors, this is a really kind of an odd story too. I really don't know what to think about it. I looked up the old man who would be like, 90 years old now, the old man who used to live next to us, that would be the same as my dad's age if my dad was alive. So I was going to look up to see when that person passed away. Turns out the guy died at 91 years old just last year in 2024. Now, here's the weird part of the story. His son, who was 5 years older than me, 67 years old, in better shape than his dad, had a great job, had a wife, kids, grandkids, just retired. He goes and buries his dad, and 2 months later, he passes away. And the dad's name was so-and-so Senior, and the son's name was so-and-so Junior. And then he named his son so-and-so the Third. They're just Iowa farmers, but some people do that. So the dad lives to be 91, perfectly healthy, dies at 91. The son buries his father, 2 months later passes away, and the son was in perfect health. Now, how do you explain that? And the dad drank and smoked for 80 of his 90 years. And the son never smoked and never drank hardly at all. How do you explain the little old lady who lives to be 103 years old and takes one shot of bourbon every day, Well, only by the hand of God. It must please God to keep them there, but I just thought that was wild to see the son, the kid I grew up with, so to speak, but he was 5 years older, so we didn't really hang out or nothing. It was a bigger family. It was just blew my mind to see that you look it up, and then the name, and then the dad's obituary is there, and the son's obituary comes up right below it. Wow, that's amazing. Today is Friday. People are going to get paid today. But you don't get paid anymore. It goes automatically into your bank account. Something I've never once did in my life. And then you have all your bills and monthly debts, automatic withdrawals out of your bank account That's another thing I've never once did in my life. I've never given anybody access to withdraw something out of my bank account once a month. You got to be kidding. How stupid could you be? There's other ways to pay for things. You know, they'll still let you have checks. You know, you can just write a check and mail it to the company. You can pay it on a credit card, and then that's what I do. I usually pay everything on a credit card. It doesn't even cost me one penny. And then I pay it off each month. I go and get a money order and send it to the credit card company for 99 cents. Very simple. Why would you give someone like Netflix, you know, and then don't you worry? I would worry because they say, okay, Russia or China just hacked 200 million Netflix accounts. And all your information is on there, and all your banking information and everything. It's like, what do I do? Well, I don't have a TV, so I don't have Netflix. And like, even if you were to put your cell phone as an automatic withdrawal on your credit card, see, then you're limited to $50, you know, loss on your credit card. If someone did hack you, they couldn't get over more than $50. Look at all these cars going into Florence, see? They all live down by Reedsport and drive 20 miles a day to Florence to go to work. That would suck. If you get 30 miles to the gallon, you're going to spend 1.5 gallons a day, 40 miles. So approximately 1.5 gallons a day, so it's $3.20, so $5 a day, $25 a week, $100 a month for gas to go to work. But then you have to spend an hour every day if everything goes perfect. I can't tell you how many times this road has been shut down for like 12 hours and people can't get down back home. So, and then that's going to cause a minimum of $100 a month wear and tear on your automobile. So it's really, to drive that much costs you $200 a month if everything goes correctly. But then you put more miles on, so you need twice as many oil changes and fluid changes and twice as many tires, so that's at least another $50 a month. That's why someone like in Los Angeles could easily spend $900 on a car payment or a truck payment and $600 a month just in gas, insurance, and maintenance. Wow. So what's the solution? What's the solution? Well, there's a store within 3 miles of your house. You could go down and be manager of that store. And right there, you're saving hundreds of dollars a month just by There was a piece of a log in the road. You see that? And I thought I could clear it. It was too late, and it kind of bumped up underneath my thing here. So you save hundreds a month just by walking down the road to your job. And your car, here's another thing. Then when your car's paid off, it'll last you 12 years. So then you go 6 years with no car payments. That's when you really start making a lot of money. Buku. Now people give me this argument. They say, yeah, but I can't afford, you know, I got all these payments, I can't afford. Well, that's the thing. See, if you're gonna be debt free, you can live anywhere. So they give me this argument. They say it can't be done. I say that's not true. How does the surfer, in Southern California, how does the surfer dude live? They go, oh, the surfer dude. You know, when they say it cost $6,000 for a one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, but I've looked up apartments in San Francisco before, just as a hobby for fun. They have $1,500 apartments in San Francisco, one-bedroom studios. You might have to live 14 miles out of town, but then that's where you work and live. There's some strip mall next to you. There's some, you know, fish store, pet store, doggy store, some cigarette stores, some 7-Eleven, some McDonald's, and you go be a manager at something in your area, and you don't ever have to pay all those other expenses. And I say, so how do the poor people live there? And I get the same answer every time. They say, honestly, I don't know how they make it. I say, exactly. But they're working 40 hours a week and they're living just like you. And they have an apartment and a wife and a family and food and clothing and a car. So how are they surviving and saving money? And you are paid $6,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in California, and you're not barely surviving either. I can go to any small town in Iowa right now. I can rent a one-bedroom apartment in Iowa for $800 a month. I can go down the road and get $11 an hour, $400 a week, bring home after taxes. Bring home $1,600 a month. My rent is $800, and then if you have a wife who brings home $1,600 a month, you got a lot of extra money. If you're debt-free, 100% debt-free. So when people say, how do they do it? Well, I just told you. immigrant come to America and thrive better than an American on less money. How does that happen? You know, you can learn from everyone. I don't care if it's a poor person. If they're doing better than you shouldn't be cutting them down. You should be trying to learn, how are they successful? How is it that they're more successful than I am? I knew a guy. It's incredible. He was in the military for 20 years. He was in the military for 20 years, so he gets that pension every month. And he got out and he went to the post office. I think it was for 20 years. So he gets that pension. And then his wife worked at the post office, but she passed away, and she had another job with Social Security. I mean, when his wife was alive, these people were bringing in like $9,000 a month to sit at home at age 60 years old and retire. And they had free health care from the military job, their military service. Here's what you need to do in America today. You need to stop following everyone else's system. You need to stop looking at the statistics, the numbers. You need to stop doing what you need to stop living in a cul-de-sac. You need to stop doing what everybody else is doing, this cookie cutter lifestyle. You need to remove yourself away from that and develop your own system that works for you. That's what I did for the last 40 years. My system would not work for most other people. It's designed to work for just me and my wife, and the way we do it, and the way we live, and how we see success, what we think of as success, you see. But my lifestyle would make most other people cry. Oh, I'm not making this up. I'm not joking. Oh, there's the wind right there. I just felt like a 35-mile-an-hour wind gust pushed the car. Oh, yeah. That's the bus that goes in between towns now. That's the greatest thing they started on the Oregon coast. And that's how homeless people travel now. You know, that bus will take you, don't quote me on this, but I'm very close on the price. That bus will take you from Florence to Reedsport for $6. And it'll take you from Florence to Yachats for $6. That's why I flashed the guy my lights when he went by, because he's been driving the bus the whole time, you know, and he waves at me because we're both from Florence. And he gets up 5 days a week and he drives. They got one guy goes to Yachats and back 3 times a day, and one guy that goes to Reedsport and back, I think 3 times a day. And you can get the same thing. You can be in Newport, you catch that bus for $6, it'll take you all the way down to Waldport. And that's how homeless people travel. So like when you give a homeless guy, you know, well, they stand there and they get like $25. They literally can jump on one of those buses and go through 3 sections for $18. And 2 days later, they're halfway down the coast for $18, traveling as a homeless man. And they even have a bike rack on the front. If you're a homeless man with a bike, you can put your bike on there. I know it sounds crazy. You're out working your butt off. That motorhome's been broken down for about a month here. I feel sorry for them. They get it started just to move it like 2 miles so they don't get in trouble. But you're out there working your butt off, and some homeless guy who has your grandma's money, you know, he's got a bag of food, cigarettes, a bottle of booze. He's on a bus with his possessions, traveling around the Oregon coast for like $12 a week transportation. And he's going to all these places and looking at all the, you know, the tourist things. And I'm telling you the truth. That's why I've said before, some of you would be better off as a homeless person. Now, being from the Midwest, and I'll end this video here in Reedsport, but being from the Midwest, they have what is called bus people, bus travelers. They're poor. They can't afford a, I've never spoke to you about this before, so I'll tell you this story. This will blow your mind. There's my apartment right there. I've never had the guts to call and ask them if I can live in there. There's a Goodwill truck. You can get a job at Goodwill working with disabled people. Minimum wage, which out here is almost $15 an hour. You can make $600 a week full time. Putting clothes on a rack at a Goodwill. So anyways, it's called bus people. People that travel by bus only. That's why Greyhound and all these places, you know, Trailways and all, they still exist. And what it is like, now I've seen this a lot in the Midwest. It blew my mind when I was growing up, but it's just normal back there. People would say, I'm gonna go see my sister for a month, and you would drive the farm wife down to the Greyhound bus station. She'd get on the bus for like $18. They'd drive her like 450 miles away. Her sister would be waiting at that bus station, take her home, and they'd be really happy, you know, farm girl sisters for a month, visiting each other. I know a lot of farm guys, they say, oh, my wife, she's out visiting her sister for a month. She'll be back in a couple weeks. She took the Greyhound bus. Oh, it's fascinating. I mean, you want to talk about American culture history. American culture, the history of how people get around. And most people, they get in a car, you know, they get in a $40,000 car, they got to drive somewhere, all these expenses. And here this housewife is like, well, my wife did that. My wife, she was the first one in her hillbilly family, and I say that with respect. I love all her family. She was the first one in her hillbilly family to go to college. And it was on the other side of the state. And her parents didn't drive her there. They put her on the Greyhound bus. It's a true story how my wife went to college. She had to sign up online and everything. Not online, there were no computers, I'm sorry. She had to sign up through the mail and telephone. And they accepted her through the mail, and she was supposed to show up on such and such day and sign up for a certain amount of classes and live in this building for 4 years. And go to college there. And it was all through loans and grants. And my wife worked 3 jobs while she went to college. And when my wife got on the bus in the early 80s to go to college, her dad gave her $20. Oh, I'm not making this. You can't make this up. When I heard that story, when I met my wife and she told me this story, yeah, I came here with $20 in my pocket. And she thought that was normal. I said, whoa, what if something would have happened? She says, nothing happened. Everything was fine. I was amazed that someone could travel 400 miles with only $20. I said, well, where did you eat? Now, you got to understand, my wife was only 20 years old, and, you know, we're all young and not as bright at 20 years old. And, you know, I'm way dumber than my wife, I'll tell you that. My wife is a girl of a lot of faith in Jesus. She said, well, I ate before... You can't make this up. She said, I ate before I left the house, 400 miles away. And then my mom gave me a couple sandwiches and, you know, like a piece of cake and stuff for the bus trip. My dad gave me $20. That was a lot of money to that guy. He had 6 kids to raise, and he was making $12 an hour. Or less, actually. At the time, he was making like $9 an hour. She said, and then when you get to college, you sign in, and the next day, I'm on the food program that it's included in with your sorority college and all that back then. She said, then I went to breakfast at the next morning. I said, well, how did you get from the bus station downtown all the way out to the college? It was 8 miles. She said, I walked. I was 20 years old, and I had one suitcase, and I pulled it behind me, and I walked. I mean, when I met her, I was highly impressed. So she did that for 2 years before I met her. And then she moved out and we got married. And she finished up her college and got a 4-year college degree. That's why whenever I would go to interviews for a job, they'd say, do you have any college experience? I say, yes, I went to college for 2 years. I have a 2-year college degree. And they say, what is it in? And I say, driving my wife back and forth to college. And they say, what? And they start laughing. I said, I never went to college. I waited for my wife to get out of class for 2 years, so I think I should deserve a degree for that. And that story would always get me the job. They would always laugh and say, I'm going to hire you. True story. One time my wife worked at a place and it snowed 8 inches. And she walked 6 miles in 8 inches of snow so she wouldn't call in sick. And when she got out there, the owner was there and said, every other employee, we're going to close for the day. I can't believe you walked all the way here. She said, well, my husband's going to, after the roads are cleared, he's going to come pick me up, so I'll just wait here and he'll come and get me. Her boss was so impressed, he paid her for the full day for just showing up. He said, I'm going to pay you for the full 8 hours because I know you're going to college. And that's one of the jobs she had when she was at college, and they were so impressed with her. They gave her a $1,000 grant from the company to pay off some of her college. And then they got it as a tax deduction out of the company. See, if you make your own way. So when people tell me, oh, it can't be done, I'm like, yeah, right. I would say in my 37 years of working, I called in sick 3 times. 3 times in 37 years. I think my wife has called in sick 1 time her whole life. You know, praise God. So I'm going to end this right now. The bus people. That's people still do it today. You get on a bus. Well, like they got a bus that goes out of Eugene, Oregon down to Reno. And man, it's only like $99 and you get all this free stuff and you get all these free tokens and free food, and they got, if you're gonna spend the night, they got really like 50% off motels, and they drive you from Eugene, Oregon down there, $99. You get it all back when you get to the casino, and you're in Reno, Nevada in 8 hours. And that's what I tell people. You could get on that bus for $99 with some of your possessions. Go down there, apply at a job, get a job within 3 days, and just start living there. And people think, oh, if I have to move somewhere, you know, it's going to cost us $20,000. We need a big, huge U-Haul. We need to move all our stuff. No. You just give all your stuff away or sell it. You can be in another state looking for a jobs and apartment for less than $500. And so people say, well, how do you do that? Well, ask any people that do it. Poor people, surfer dudes, homeless people, whatever. Or farmers. I know a guy here in town who he went back to visit his relatives on a Greyhound bus, and he stayed there 3 months because the mother passed away or something, and he went back and he had to take care of the farmhouse and everything. And he took the Greyhound bus, like $99 to go across 6 states. But you see, it's all mental. Most people say, oh, I could never sleep on a bus in front of strangers. You watch a lot of those old movies from the 40s and 50s and 60s. There's always people getting on a bus going somewhere. And it's cheaper than driving. And if you know someone on the other end, a relative who loves you, you just stay with them until you're all set up. Just call your uncle, 3 states away and say, hey, I'm going to take the bus to your house if I can live with you for 6 months, and I'll do all your yard work. And I'll help you paint your house this summer. And then I'll get set up and get on my own. Your uncle will say, you can't get here fast enough. Your uncle will say, I got tons of work for you to do. But people don't think this way. They don't think, if someone's doing me a favor, how can I do them a favor and benefit them? No, today we just get on the highway and run each other over, tailgate each other, get the hell out of my way. I'm only living for myself. I'm on my way to my $22 an hour job. I saw that Costco workers make $30 an hour. The long-term ones have been there over 15 years. Costco workers, 15 years, make $30 an hour. And the ones that are just starting make almost $20 an hour. And they're very close to signing a union contract. They're going to give the $30 an hour Costco long-term workers 3 raises in the next 3 years of $1 each. So in 3 years, they'll be making $33 an hour working at Costco. That blows my mind. You have to pay a person at Costco $1,350 a month in 3 years? I mean, a week? You have to pay them $1,300 because right now they get $1,200 a week. 40 hours, full benefits, $30 an hour, $1,200 a week. They bring home $900 a week after taxes. You can work at Costco and in 15 years bring home $3,600 a month, and if you're lucky enough and your wife works there at the same place, you can make over $7,000 a month. The two of you working at Costco bring home $75,000. Well, actually, it'd be $84,000 a year. Take-home pay. Working at Costco, standing up front, welcome. Putting stuff on the shelf, taking stuff off a truck. Standing up front, putting the, there you go, there's a $60,000, $70,000 truck. I'm doing 54 miles an hour. I am going 1 mile an hour under the speed limit. Now, I'm not jealous. I don't get heavy. No, I feel sorry for those people. That guy's got to go that fast through his whole life. And all he's got to really do is go down to Costco and stand there for 15 years and get $33 an hour. You say, well, you got to put in 15 years. Yeah, well, you're going to put in 15 years somewhere else. And you're only going to be making like $20 an hour. So you got to make those, choices. Are you the kind of person that if someone's doing 53 miles an hour and you're behind them, you start getting a lot of anxiety building up in you? The other day I saw these two hippies driving down the road in a 35-year-old station wagon down by the southern Oregon coast. And they both had dreadlocks. It was one woman driving the car because she was, she was the only one that was technically sober. And her boyfriend or whatever had dreadlocks, and he was this skinny hippie dude, and he was in the back of the car with no shirt on, with a big, huge, like 100-pound dog, and he was smoking a joint. And I had a bumper sticker on my car, and he rolls down the window. She slows down, and they're looking at me, and we're doing 50 miles an hour side by side. And he rolls down the window and says, "Hey, man, I like your bumper sticker, dude." I said, "Right on, brother." They gave him the thumbs up. And then she sped up to 55 and went going straight towards California or whatever. And they had like Wisconsin license plates. So I'm talking about stress. You know, you're some like 49-year-old white guy, you know, behind me, all stressed out, angry, stressed out, anxiety, angina, gas, painful, you know, indigestion. Your back hurts. And then you got these two hippies driving down the road, legally smoking a joint, because if she wasn't, I'm sure they smoke every day, but if she wasn't high, she gets to drive. He wasn't driving. It's like smoking a cigarette, but you're not driving. I bet the police see a lot of really crazy stuff down by the California border. Oh, I bet you they do. I'm gonna finish right here. Here's what the problem is with the average American today. It doesn't matter whether they're Christian or non-Christian. You have been sold. Look at that cool truck there. You have been sold a false dream that they put in a box, and you go buy it on a shelf at the big box store. And that dream is, it's the same for everybody. 30-year mortgage, white picket fence, a front yard, 2-car garage, 2 car payments, credit card payments, take two small vacations a year, Memorial Day, July 4th, and then some other holiday you want to do, and then everybody does Christmas exactly the same in America, and everybody does Thanksgiving exactly the same in America. And if you don't eat 10 pounds of turkey on Thanksgiving week, you're considered the weirdo, the outsider, you see. And then you have to get a job 40 hours a week, and now they took your health care away. That used to be included into this package they were selling you. But now they took your health care away, and you got to pay for it. They got to pay for your dental, your vision, your health care. But here's the problem with that dream. It takes 35 to 40 years to achieve that dream. You're supposed to start when you're 25, and when you're 65, you sell your house, you get all your money, your 401k, your investments, whatever. You get your $800,000. You're 65 years old, and now you can go do something. But that doesn't work anymore because corporations aren't allowing that kind of work life. And when you're told you're going to make $21 an hour, but in order to get the American dream, the house costs $450,000. You're like, the young person, how do I do that? So that's what I'm saying. You're kind of sold a false dream today. It's still being pushed, that dream from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they're still trying to push it in the 2010s and 2020s and 2030s, but it doesn't work anymore. And you got all these people going to therapists and doctors, and they're on medication, and the medication's not working, so they start taking pills like fentanyl and stuff to get rid of their anxiety, and they're dying. About 1 million people a year die of fentanyl overdose in America. And the jails are so full, they have to let people out just to make more room for the people going in. And the insurance companies are starting to cancel insurance in California. Oh, that's going to be interesting if they can just start insuring only certain areas of the country. And the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, they weren't part of this dream. They've been selling you junk food for 40 years. And they've been selling you medications for 40 years that don't work. One of my friends, like 10 years ago, died out here. She was older than me. I worked with her. Her doctor had her on 7 different medications. And plus she drank alcohol, she died. Had her on 7 different medications. Wow. And you know, most of them didn't do anything for her, just killed her over time. In about 5 years of that, she died. So that's why, you know, in this video I'm saying, you need to get out of that box and develop your own system that's going to work for you for the rest of your life or until the rapture coming up here. You need to develop your system with your wife, and that's going to include giving up about 50% of everything you have right now. You're going to have to say, we're going to have to cut back 50% of all our stupid toys. Because what's going to happen even in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if you're 45 or 47, you'll be retired at 62 in 15 years. Actually, I think your age group can't retire until you're 63. You'd have to look it up. So in 15 years, all the money you're saving now, you know, how much do you think a loaf of bread is going to cost in 15 years? There's a guy who spent $65,000 on that truck when he bought it brand new. I mean, a loaf of bread was $2.49 3 years ago. Now they're like $4.49. Some of them are $7, but how much do you think a loaf of bread's going to cost in 15 years? Wow. $9. So all that money you're saving you know, trying frantically, and you're not getting anything. You're not getting any interest today, which is blowing my mind. The bank is charging everybody 7% interest to loan stuff out, you know, and 20% for a car or whatever. But they only give you 1% interest on your savings account, or something very low. See, that's what I'm saying. The whole system is upside down, broken, and it's not to your advantage. It's to your disadvantage from now on. That's what I'm saying. I told you this. I've been telling you 10 years on YouTube this. A poor person who's 100% debt-free is going to be way better off in the future than a middle-class or upper-middle-class person. And you can see Donald Trump, he's getting so much pushback. In just 2 weeks, he's getting so much pushback, I highly doubt hardly anything big is going to happen. He didn't change the government the first 4 years. He had 4 years. He had all of Congress to do it. So why does he think it's going to happen now? I mean, the government is like an old 300-year-old oak tree, and you're trying to pull the roots out with your bare hands. It's not going to happen. The government's like a forest of 300-year-old, you know, oak trees, deeply, deeply embedded into the ground. That's what the government is, so embedded into corruption and the system that you can't change a 50-year broken system in 2 or 4 years like he says he's going to. And if I'm wrong, and Donald Trump is able to do that, there's only one way to do it. You have to go out into the forest and take a chainsaw and cut the tree right down and just leave the roots and walk away. And so that's what he would have to do what he says he's going to do. He has to just go and completely dismantle and destroy entire government sections. Now you're saying, well, I'm good with that. Well, most people would be happy with it until they're out of a job, until they go to the DMV to get their driver's license, and they have to sign up 6 weeks in advance to get an appointment like they did during COVID. Well, now you're not happy with it. Oh, now you're complaining. Okay, I don't want to wait 6 weeks to get a driver's license. That's what I say. A person bringing home $30,000 a year and living on $20,000 a year has $10,000 a year left over. No expenses, no payments, no debt, zero debt, no house. You live on about $1,800 a month. And you save $10,000 a year, or you could use $3,000 or $4,000 of that to take 3 or 4 trips, and you'd still save $7,000. You're better. That group of people now are way better off than middle-class people who don't have anything left over except what's taken out for their 401k. And what you look at those middle-class people, they're all borrowing on their 401ks. Of course, Joe Biden made it way easier for you to borrow money out of your 401k anytime you want. And now your 401k account becomes like a gambling machine, a slot machine. So if you think things are bad now, how do you think they're going to be in 15 years when all these companies have artificial intelligence, 30% of the population lost their jobs. Someone like Donald Trump has cut the government back 20%. You can't get anybody on the phone. And then they go to like, you're only able to work 32 hours a week now, like in, in England and Britain and, the United Kingdom, Greece, France, 32 hours a week over there. The old saying is, you're not going to make it out of here alive. Everybody's going to die or be raptured. I believe the rapture's coming before the worst of the worst happens. 100% debt-free. That's not me doing 25 and a 20. That's the guy behind me doing 25 and a 20. I was doing 18 miles an hour on a 20 because the police station is 1 block from here. They're all over this area. They're going to pull you over and give you a $200 ticket. And I don't want to pay a $200 ticket, so I'll just go a little slower. Well, I gave you a lot of information in this video. But only people who can live on such less money and you got a big fat savings account and you're a disciplined in your spending, you're highly disciplined in your spending, and you can find joy in life by not spending money. The simple things. Look at this motorhome with the eagles on it in front of me. Now that's a 20-year-old motorhome. That's an older one. It might even be more older. It's a Trek Safari. Yeah, that's at least 20 years old. But look, see, that's a retired couple. They probably have money in the bank, but their motorhome runs perfectly fine. They don't want to buy a new one. They're just going to live in this for the rest of their life or whatever. You see, what it's come to is it's sad now that the people who are working today, starting out at 30 years old, 40 years old, and even those finishing up at 50 years old, almost everything you do in your career right now, and I hate to say this if you've never heard it before, I got to tell you the truth. Whatever you're going to do for the next few years in your career, your job, your place of employment for the next 20 years is going to be taken away from you through inflation, higher prices, higher insurance costs, higher medical costs. Lower wages. Wages are not going to keep up. The reason most of us got raises over the last 4 years is because Joe Biden gave every corporation in America tens of millions of dollars to pay their employees. And they used all that money. They were giving the free government money to the employees. Well, now it's gone, and that's why they're closing stores. They're like, we're not going to pay those employees. We made all the money. Now we're just going to close and go back to the way it was before. Well, the way it was before was you could barely keep up month to month. And rent Rent now, government says rent can go up 10% a month now. I mean, 10% a year, sorry. How are you going to afford that? So if you're paying $1,500 a month for rent in a city, okay, well now, next year you're going to have to pay $1,650. Did you get a raise for $150 a month? Well, you and your wife might have got 75-cent raise each. That's barely, after taxes and everything, that's going to barely cover your rent increase. So you see, you didn't actually get a raise, you just gave it to the rental company. Now, I'm not being negative. Everything I'm saying is true. And people, you need to hear it. One day, I'm just not going to make videos anymore. And I'm just going to stop talking about it. And whoever wants to listen can listen. And I just won't make any more videos because I'm just kind of repeating myself. And I know that there's certain things out there that stop my videos from getting hits. I know this. Oh yeah, I see it totally. There's certain things out there happening, like with YouTube and all that, and the algorithm and artificial intelligence. Someone like me only gets like 25 hits on a video like this. Now why? There's 5 billion people on the internet. How come I can only get 25 hits? Because the algorithm pushes you down so far down you're lucky to get 25 hits. And what does YouTube say? They say, well, you got to build community, man. You got to turn on your comments. You got to show your face so the government can record your face. You have to tell people in every video, push the like button, subscribe, push the notification button, hit that little bell notification button. You got to play the game. You got to build a community. And then you got to start doing radical, crazy things to get people to watch. Well, I'm very thankful for Jesus Christ, because I don't give a damn about any of that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not going to make videos in my underwear so people will watch. Let me assure you, it'll never have. Look at that bag flying across the parking lot with the wind. That's how windy it is here. Here's a guy broke down, see? I hope he can get it started. Here's someone living in a van right there at the Walmart parking lot. Living in a van in the Walmart parking lot. But they don't allow that here at this Walmart, because at this Walmart, they got a full-time security guard stands out front in his car all day now. I was here like 3 months ago. This 22-year-old tall kid comes through with his girlfriend. I don't know if they were on drugs or what. The 65-year-old guy's in there, says, "Can I see your receipt?" He holds up his receipt right here at this Walmart in Coos Bay, Oregon. Starts screaming at the top of his lungs, "Here's my receipt, old man. F you, F." He started screaming the F word really loud all over. The whole store could probably hear it. "I stood right there and paid for my stuff. You got no right. This is like communism. You're like, and he's just screaming, and his girlfriend's standing there like this happens 5 times a day. I'm thinking, why are you this guy's girlfriend? They didn't even have any kids with each other. Maybe the kids were at school. I don't know, but this guy was just, it's like he just went into a totally full-blown panic attack explosion because someone said, may I please see your receipt? And I was the person in front and showed my receipt. Just let them look at the damn receipt and let them put their little yellow marker on there and you go on with your life. Who cares? I mean, if you're going to fight everything, every change that's coming up, you're going to have a lot of problems in life. And I got to the door and then that's when I heard the guy screaming. The security guard goes over there. He didn't say anything. He just stands there. And the 22-year-old guy yells, "Oh, yeah, look, the effing security's here. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be sent to, like, Folsom Prison for not showing my receipt." And the guy, and he was yelling back at the store all the way to his broken down truck. And they just kind of followed him out of the parking lot. I'm sure he lives here and comes back to the store 10 times a week. So you see what they're doing. Corporations and government, they have, it's already broken. They're not breaking it. It's already broken. And I don't care. I mean, I'll just have to wait 4 years and then tell you guys, see, Donald Trump didn't do hardly anything. Because all you people out there, you think Donald Trump is your savior. He's here to save us right now. He's our savior. I'm telling you, government is embedded too far down. I would be happy and satisfied if Donald Trump cut 10% off the top. It's like if you have a nice, T-bone steak and the side of it has 10% fat and you cut the fat off because it's not good for you, but you just eat the meat. If Donald Trump and Elon Musk there can somehow cut just 10%, now I don't think anything other than that's going to happen, and I'm not sure that'll happen either. And another thing, one more thing before I end the video. Deporting all these illegal immigrants. He's not going to deport hardly as many as you think. When you start deporting, like Donald Trump says, he wants to deport families, husbands, wives, and children. And the children were born in the United States. Now he's trying to say, he's trying, it's called anchor baby. He's trying to get rid of that, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court. I think they're going to knock him down. It's in our Constitution. If you were born in the United States, you are an American citizen. That is how Barack Obama was legally an American citizen. He was born here. But if you were born in the United States, but Donald Trump wants to get rid of that. Okay, well, let me ask you a question. You and I were born in the United States. Will they be able to get rid of us? Well, they say no, because your parents were born here too. Yeah, but at what point do you stop? I mean, so you're going to deport the parents and leave the children here. Now, here's my point. When you start doing that, that's going to be every news story for the next 4 years is going to be how Donald Trump is ripping families apart and and deporting your neighbors and your workers and your coworkers, and they're going into schools and ripping children out of schools and deporting children that have done nothing. And is that what you will never get, and he will not get any Republicans to back him on that. Not enough to pass anything. Now, I believe it's not going to happen. I do not believe it'll happen. No. Because it's just, we're not a country that puts ripping children out of schools on the news and people just stand around and do nothing. No, that would be the worst political scenario possible. If you're taking children under age 18 out of schools and deporting them out of the country with their parents. Now, if you're a Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. There's nobody, well, I'll say maybe 15% of the country. 85% of the country will not stand by and watch children being deported out of the country. It's not going to happen. That's why I'm telling you, it's in the Bible. It's in Ecclesiastes. It's in other books. It's in Proverbs. Number 1, become a believer in Jesus Christ. Number 2, you get a wife and have a family, children. Number 3, you get a job that you enjoy doing and provide for your family. Number 4, you go home. This says specifically in Ecclesiastes, you go home with your family and enjoy your family that the Lord gave you. And then you teach your children the Bible and prayer and how to love Jesus. That's your 5-step plan for living. Debt-free. You never ever borrow a dime. You never take on debt, ever. And you live that simple life. Now, back then, the Israelites and the Jewish people, they just lived in like little brick houses, or some of them lived in caves, tents. They lived in big, huge tents. And then you find something. So then if you live that way, you and your wife working and your kids are at school, you can easily, both of you, part-time, make $3,000 a month. You can live on $2,000 a month. The government will still give you almost $4,000 a year for your kids. If you have 2 children. You can live on $2,000 a month and save $1,000 a month while raising your family until your kids are 10 years old. It's very simple. But what it is people say, no, we have to go to college. I have to become a nurse or whatever. I have to this, and that. And you see, everything you're doing is towards getting more money per hour. And I'm not joking. I'm one of the only people that talk about how getting less money per hour gives you a much better life, much easier life, more freedom, less, that's right, less money per hour, less possessions, less items, less spending, 0 debt, no house. Take the bus across town with your kids. Have your kids ever been on a city bus? Well, how will they know how to survive if you don't teach them? You say, well, no, I've never taken my kids on the bus. True story, Bill Murray got an old 1970s Winnebago Chieftain. And he had it all fixed up because he's a multimillionaire. And he would force his kids every year for a few years to drive across America on vacation with him. Can you imagine looking out your window and Bill Murray is in a 1975 Winnebago Chieftain driving down I-80? That would be hilarious. And his kids are waving out the window. And he said, I want to teach my kids what real America looks like, not just Hollywood America. I want my kids to know what real America looks like. And that's what I'm saying. Could you put your kids on a city bus and they could make their own way back home? It's a good question. Can you live on $20,000 a year and then have all your time to yourself? You know, how valuable is time? How valuable is time? I mean, how much would you pay to get more time back? Well, it depends on how old you are. If you're 18 years old, time is something you don't even consider. If you're 80 years old, you'd give everything you had to get 30 years back. That's right. Well, I'll end this here. You guys are just out there beating your heads against the wall in today's society. I thank God every day that I'm 62 and a half years old and I'm on Social Security. I thank God every day that I'm not down in this work environment of crazy land, where even if you do go to work and do a great job, nobody cares, nobody appreciates it, nobody says thank you, you don't get a raise, you don't get bonuses. Your employer doesn't say, you did such a great job this year, I'll buy your kids their eyeglasses for $300 at Walmart. No, nothing. You don't get nothing here. I'm so glad I'm done with that kind of a thing. I mean, maybe in a few years, if I'm 65, 66 or whatever, you know, I might do some tiny little business on my own to bring in an extra $500 a month or something. That would be easy. All right, that's enough for now. I way over talked. I know I way over talked, but you know what they say? My advice is as valuable as you paid for it. So how much did you pay to listen? Nothing. It was free. That's about what it's worth.